Hello, friends. Welcome to the YouTube channel of Life and More. Today we have Madhureeta Anand with us. She's a Delhi based filmmaker, author, and the driving force behind an app that has been designed for women's safety and their empowerment. The app is called Free for Safety. And she's quite passionate about gender issues, specifically women, empowerment of women and their safety. And such is her passion for women empowerment that even in her debut novel, Krishna Circus, she featured a female superhero confronting ecological destruction and gender imbalance. So, as a film director, she is known for critically acclaimed films like Kajarya, which talks about female infanticide, and Mere Khwabon Mein Jo Aaye, which talks about extramarital relationships. So, welcome, Madhurita.
Hi, lovely to be here.
It, the
Well,
whole process.
yeah, the idea first came to me when I was making my first film called Mere Khwabon Mein Jo Aaye, and on the set we had, these lovely big paintings made by these poster painters. And I was standing in front of one of them, which had a row of trees, and I don't know from where I had this idea like, what if one could travel back, into a world where nature was still pristine and valued and loved. And Krishna Circus just literally dropped in my head at that moment. But of course, at that time, Krishna was a man because I was really tired of trying to get funding for women led films because it's very hard. So I wrote it. I tried to write it as a man. Tried to write Krishna as a man, but maybe a year or two down, I realized that it wasn't going to go forward if I kept him as a man. So I changed it and I made it a woman, and then the book kind of wrote it. The script, actually, it was a script at the time, wrote itself. And then during the pandemic, I started to look at the script again and really work with it. And I realized that as I detailed the script, that it was becoming a book. So this is the journey and how we got here. And to your question about how, the two important issues, which are environment and women, I think the two are linked because, ecofeminism really only talks about that. Women's relationship with nature is very close. We have to visit it monthly or, you have to confront it as menopause or as birth of a child. Your body is constantly involved. Men don't have that involvement with the body. So we see some very strange things happening which normally would not occur, where nature kicks in, you know. So we have that relationship whether we're environmentalists or not, whether we're feminists or not, doesn't matter. As women, that link is very close. So and that's probably why the book ended up being with a female superhero, because I was trying to write a superhero who's a champion for nature, and the fact that she's a woman matches,
Okay. Okay. So, is it a purely fictional book, or you have drawn like some influences from your real life, from people around you, apart from the major nature connection of that women have with nature that you talked about? Apart from that,
Well, it's a superhero film, and she travels in time. So in that sense, it's very hard to base it on anybody real. But the characters, when you read them, you will recognize them because they are all around us. There is this sort of greed which has gripped us as a society. We're literally immobilized by it. We can't move our politics, our geopolitics, our everything has got sort of centered around greed, you know, and this need to have, this need to acquire and fill some hole, you know. So we are kind of caught in that cycle, and somewhere along the way we lost track of uh, nature, actually, which is makes you run in the opposite direction of greed. So it doesn't make it very good for capitalism if one talks about ecofeminism. But honestly, there we need a solution, and we all know we need a solution. And the book has some viewpoints on that.
And two more things, like so this book that you said that you it conceptualized at the time of making of Kajarya. So that's quite a long. I think it came
No,
in
no,
2010. The film.
conceptualized when I made Mere Khwabon Mein Jo Aaye. It's even more. It's 16
Yeah.
years.
Oh,
But
oh,
but you know,
all
well,
this
because
while this seed was there in you.
oh yes, and it was evolving because 16 years ago,
Mm,
you can imagine when I took it to some producers and even actors and tried to
mhm,
tell them about this, male superhero. They didn't know what I was on. They were just,
mm,
they thought like I'm kind of crazy or something. So people just looked at
mm,
me like, oh, maybe some other time. In fact, I would say even
mm,
a year and a half before the book came out, or just before the pandemic, I
mhm,
again tried to go to people and tried to tell them, look, now the time is right. And really nobody got it. And then I thought they didn't get it, or they didn't want to get it, or it was too much. I don't know what it was. So
mm,
and so I therefore was just pushed to write the book, and
mm,
really wanted to write it because it's a story that never left me, not for a second.
mm,
And the funny thing
mhm,
is, every time it evolved, I had my own way of trying the book, the story, and my way was
mhm,
to tell it to my daughter. So I would tell the next phase to her, and she was
mm,
always riveted. She always listened, and she would even in a group say, "Mom, tell that story, tell it." So I realized there's something there that young hearts are responding to, and so I never gave up on it. These were people who were
and
not jaded. These were not people who were
mm,
from the industry. They just like hearing stories, and they were
mm,
enjoying
mm.
it.
And
So it never
mm,
left me. Never.
yeah. So, and what about the name Krishna Circus?
Well, there are multiple layers to it, as you can imagine, because
Mm,
Krishna
mm,
Circus is actually, she does have a circus of her own, and
mm,
the circus is itself a little like a sentient being, so it's growing with her.
mm.
But at
Okay.
another level, it's a play on Krishna Leela because we are all
Mm,
actually in Krishna circus, if you look at it,
mm,
uh, you know, philosophically speaking. We're just
mm,
we're just here doing our trapeze acts,
mm,
with an audience we don't know, and
mm,
we're just in that circus. We're just playing, um, and sometimes, of course, taking it very seriously, the play. So Krishna Circus is a play on that, is a kind of a turn of phrase to talk about really Krishna Leela,
mm,
Krishna's Leela. So yeah, so in a way, Krishna is our savior, and she comes with this circus, and she has a team of four, and the circus has portals within it that can take them back to all the places where the end of Earth was seeded, and they go and stop those events, regenerating Earth. So that's
mm.
why. So there are two levels. On the one level, there is an actual circus there, but at another level, it's really philosophical as well.
True, true. And do you have any, did you have any like target readership with this book? That this book is directed at this and these people.
The thing is that I've done that so much with film, where you have to always think about who the audience is. And I
Mm,
realized over the
mm,
years that that's actually faulty because, um, I mean, it works for very popular tentpole films, or some big sort of series. But fact is that you can decide where it should go, but you just never know who really takes to it. And the young adults would, of course, take to it very well. But I'm finding a lot of mature
mm,
readership is also coming to the book.
mm,
We've been now out for a couple of months, so it's having a
mm.
kind of a varied response. I honestly didn't write it thinking about any one person, any one age group in mind. I meant for it to be a little bit more universal than that. But young adults are taking to it.
So let's go back to your life when it all began. Would you like to share something about your like growing up years? You
Oh,
studied
I'm a
philosophy, and
army
then you did went to Jamia.
sociology. Yes, I'm an army kid.
Hmm,
My dad was in the army.
mhm,
He died when
hmm,
he died when I was 7 years old. I was raised by my mom, and I went to boarding school to the Lawrence School Sanawa when I was 11, and it was perhaps the best thing that happened to me because I grew up in nature. I
okay.
grew up around a lot of love and um, contrary to what you think about, a boarding school, I grew up around in a time in the school where it was very liberating. Let's say, it was very open, and we had nature, and we had some very lovely teachers as well. And then I went to college and I studied sociology, which I loved very
Mm,
much. And while I was studying
mm,
sociology, I had this sort of wave of, I don't know where it came from, where I spent some time in villages and I did a lot of work with disabled people. And, because something in me felt drawn to that. And then at the end, then I went to film school and I worked in TV for a while. Then I formed my own
okay.
company and I did a lot of international documentaries and then the fiction
Mm,
work. And somewhere, I think I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago, I
mm,
started with the app because I'm a single mother and I raise my daughter,
mm,
and so we have many concerns around our children's safety, and it's very funny with women, and this is something I'd like to actually say to all women out there, that the things we do for our
mm,
children we would never do for ourselves. And why is that? We should ask
mm,
ourselves that, you know so I also realized that my whole life, I had been in unsafe situations. All of us have, in India, have faced unsafe situations of all kinds, but it never occurred to me to design a solution for it. But the moment I started even feeling like that danger was in the vicinity of my daughter, I came up with a solution, which is Free for Safety. So this is all of it. There's a lot of it. I've condensed it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
like you rightly said at the beginning, my concerns are around gender, and I'm a
Mm,
storyteller, so I'll use every means that I can get my hands on. Um,
mm,
we're living in an age where we can do that. you know, um, we no longer have to be this or that. We have to actually have a point of view. That is important. And not just a point of view, but kind of a deep and heartfelt, experienced point of view. And that is what is precious today. So, yeah, one tries to develop that more and more, besides, of course, the craft and the app and the writing. So,
but I'll go back again to your filmmaking. From
yeah.
sociology, how did filmmaking happen? What inspired you to enter films?
So when I was in school, I used to be in the art class, and I used to enjoy art a
Mm,
lot.
mm,
And I started to understand light and sort of the visual aspect of storytelling. And then I came to college, and I think I had been in a very protected, loving environment in school. And suddenly I came into a city where I was faced with, predicaments that one usually isn't. So, which is why this draw towards social impact, let's say. And I was looking for a way to combine my art and social impact. I had the naive thought that if I became a filmmaker, I could somehow use art to create social impact. It was really, I think, within the first 6 months of being in film school that I just fell in love with filmmaking. I remember just being there and being able to be with light and image and sound. It was just magical to me. And yes, I like do try to make uh, do try to think about the social impact of my work. I do that very consciously because it's really how can I say, like, blind to say, oh, we're just entertaining. We're not just entertaining, we're putting something into a space, and we must
mm,
bravely own it. So I
mm.
have tried that, but I really came to filmmaking with this belief that I could change the world through art. But eventually, of course, I just fell in love with filmmaking, and now I just like to just love being a filmmaker. Is all I can say. It's my first love.
You Yeah. You always wanted to be behind the camera. Girls at that time, that age, like 17, 18, 19, 20, they want to be in front of the camera.
Well, I mean, I'll share with you something I've not really talked about in interviews. When I was very young, I was
Mm,
modeling and things like that, and
okay.
I'm trying to make some money on the side, and like a young girl, and getting asked, like, we want to do some photos of you and things like that. And I did
Mm,
that, but I hated the fact that I had to sort of wear all this makeup and be there for somebody else to look at me, you know
okay.
and that
Mm,
really, that I think, we started to grit. I was too young perhaps to give it the words, but it
mm,
started to irritate me a little bit. Like, I felt objectified. And now I can have words. That time I was just, I used to go. For example, there was some show I remember once, and I had to be. It was some night clothes show, and I refused to wear it. I said, I'm not going to wear this
mm,
thing and walk around. I didn't have trouble with the body show or anything like that. It's just the fact that
mm,
we were all girls, very young, and these things, and there were some, weird people looking at it. And at no point do I judge other people who want to do it. I, in fact,
mm,
admire them to some extent because it requires a great
mm,
deal of bravery to put your body and your face out in a space where you're constantly going to be examined. It's quite
mm,
brave, but it wasn't for me. I realized very early, and I also felt, like I had other things to do, perhaps.
mm,
I just always felt that it happened recurrently for the first, I'd say, 2 3 years of college, or even after, where people would ask me to act or do those things, but I was always very tortured in front of the camera, so I was like happy behind. Still am
So
very, very happy.
how were your okay? How were your initial years of filmmaking? How was your journey like? Was it tough? Was it how challenging was it?
The thing is, when we left film school, we were the
Mm,
first few batches who came into a kind of open media. Before
mm,
that, it wasn't we didn't there weren't so many channels and things like that. This was the 90s.
mm,
So in the 90s, you suddenly had this explosion, and I had just come out of film school and benefited from it. So in the beginning,
mm,
it was not at all tough. In fact, it was rather easy. I got in very quickly, worked with some of the best
mm,
people who perhaps you can't even imagine. We were just standing in the same room and working. And we did all that. The tough part
mm,
started when I had a vision around my filmmaking, which means now I just didn't want to do a job. I wanted to grow as a filmmaker. So first I formed my own company and decided to do international documentary. And I did that for various networks,
mm,
which was tough. Getting the work, doing it to satisfaction, and delivering all that,
mm,
which is very nice for me, because suddenly I had a little bit more control of my work. The really tough
mm,
part, I think, started was when I decided to do the Bollywood jump, you know,
mm,
because it was a totally unknown terrain to me.
mm,
I was not even born in the city. I did not know anybody. I'd never worked with anybody. I'd never assisted anybody. I had just done international work and lived in Delhi, you know.
mm,
And then I moved to Bombay and made my first film, which is perhaps the toughest thing I've done, toughest. And I've got divorced and I've raised a child. I've done all that, but this was just horrible. But I think that experience was needed in a way for me to um, be pushed to understand what is important to me. You know, you can be very sort of naive and think, oh yeah, I'll make a film and it'll be all very nice. But the thing is, when you reach a certain level, filmmaking isn't just filmmaking. There's a lot of other things going on. There are people who are desperate around you, trying to, make it. There are people around you who've been waiting years to make it. And there are people, who are in an environment which is uncertain. And so then they come and, they could harm you. And I had to learn pretty early how to stave that off, and to understand what my creativity is, because I feel like the most important part of this journey is knowing who you are creatively, you know, because then you can go anywhere in the world and you can think anything and work on anything, but you have to know
mm,
what matters to you and little
mm,
bit stick by your guns.
mm,
It's hard.
mm.
That is the hardest part, I think. Once you know what you want to do, then it becomes really hard.
So with that film, Mere Khwabon Mein Jo Aaye, you after that you decided not to go into like commercial Bollywood cinema.
No, it isn't like that. It was not like that. And in
Mm,
fact, I wanted to, and I have tried recurrently. But I realized
mm,
after that experience that for me to really bring something which matters to me, which I enjoy, I have to
mm,
fight for it a little. Um,
mm,
but also, over the years, I've realized that maybe I'm not interested in telling a story, just telling a story. Maybe I want to tell a story, a particular story. And all these things that I'm saying are not sort of market friendly. Uh,
mm,
but but what is life if you're just gonna do that? I think creativity is very precious. I think creativity is a very positive force. What do you do if you just take it and just throw it and just have it trampled on? It wasn't for me, and frankly, I just didn't ever in Bombay find my tribe, so to speak. People who I
mm,
could work with. But I
mm,
constantly found that tribe in abroad, or in the West, or in Delhi, or other cities. I have some really great friends in Bombay, and I have great, but I never had that tribe, so to speak. And this
mm,
business works a lot on that, on the tribe
mm.
in Bombay.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. You work on like you work on women-centric issues. Like, but in the times we are living in, we have had many examples wherein men are also the victims. So, do you
Yeah.
think or do you plan to do anything on that?
You see, the thing is that from outside, it looks like I'm following, kind of I'm championing the cause of women,
Mm,
which I am, most certainly am.
mm,
But actually, I'm trying to evolve a larger conversation around gender, which includes men,
mm,
which includes trans people. Um, and most importantly, all my work is made by me, and I am a woman.
mm, mm,
So no man, so many men just make films about men. They make
mm,
war films, whatever they like, whatever takes their fancy. But they always have worked. When they work, the male is very important to them, and
mm,
nobody questions it. Nobody asks them, why do you make men centric work? Are you going to
mm,
make something about women? Nobody, because that
mm,
is a norm. So, which is why people feel. But I think I'm telling stories from a vantage point which I know, which I understand, which
mm,
I experience, which I feel strongly about. Outside of that, there is a side of me which is an activist, and that activist is talking about gender
mm,
and feminism as a solution to a lot of the problems we have today. These are the two things I'm focusing on. And I am
mm,
constantly talking about men and their problems at the moment, their issues at
mm,
the moment. And of course, some men are victims. But
mm,
uh, it's not about being a victim or not. It's about a system that isn't working for anybody actually. I mean, most recently there was a survey done, and
mhm.
child sexual abuse is also quite high amongst men, but men are not
Yeah,
allowed to talk
boys.
about it. Yeah,
Mm,
boys, and
mm,
but men are not allowed to talk about it, so
mhm,
they don't talk about it. So it doesn't get cured. So there
mm,
are perpetrators of a system that isn't working for the rest of the people. And
mm,
we are just sitting here saying men, women, 20 cases, 30 cases, 40 cases.
mm,
What is this? What is this? So that's what I'm trying to bring attention to. And I say it categorically. I absolutely have lot of respect for a lot of the work some of the men have done. But there is a
mm.
system that is driven by a lot of men, which is not working for even other men. It's
Yeah.
not just women. So why don't men talk about that?
Mm, true,
They should.
true.
They shouldn't put it on
Mm,
me to talk about it.
mm, mm.
They should talk about
True,
it,
true.
is what
Mm,
I'm saying.
mm, mm. So when you say like feminism, what
Yeah,
exactly do you mean? Because feminism is a much abused word also
maligned.
these days.
Yeah. Feminism has always, first of all, been a very, very maligned word. Nobody likes feminists. The reason
Mm,
is that feminists are not saying just set women free. Women are talking
mm,
about a new system. I'm sorry, feminism is talking about an alternative system that could work with cooperation and equality, where
mm,
you recognize intersectionality, where you recognize differences in
mm,
individuals, communities, people. That's what feminism is. It's
mm,
saying wherever you are, whoever you are valid and as
mm,
important as, say, the prime minister.
mm,
That's what it's saying. So if you
mm,
say something like this, you are talking about a new world. Nobody likes the thought of it, especially those who have
mm,
this world in their control. Who likes it? So it's
mm,
never happened
mm,
that feminism has been the
mm,
favorite word. It's not new.
mm,
But the
mm,
point is that if we can't like say, oh, now feminism is bad. No, the first day a person said feminism, I mean, all the women who came out and tried to educate other women were spat on. You
mm,
know, they
mm,
were they
mm,
were thrown out. They were excommunicated. Nobody likes it because we're just saying feminism is equality. We can all
mm,
sit on the same table. We can
mm,
all work cooperatively. Leaders are
mm,
not, you don't have to have one leader. There is a leader. You are a leader. I am a leader. We are all leaders in our own right,
mm,
and we all have a say,
mm.
for better or worse. So that is what feminism is. Feminism isn't men are bad. It's not like that at all. And that is a big misunderstanding.
So you are an author, you are a screenwriter, you are a filmmaker, you direct films. So how do you manage so much volume of work? And is there one special, like, is there one thing that you are more drawn to, or each holds an equal importance?
I've thought about this quite often because I suddenly one day had this thing that, oh God, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an author, and I'm an entrepreneur. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think first of all, I always say to everybody, we have 24 hours in the day. And if you have the privilege of deciding what you do with those 24 hours, you can do anything. So the problem usually is that you can't, especially women, don't have control over their time. You see, they have to pay attention to children, to husbands, families, whatever. So many things women have to do, elder care, blah, blah, blah. And then everything else comes in its way. Um, so I try to very nicely organize my days. So some days are reserved for one thing, some days are reserved for another thing. Sometimes times of the day I split up, and I always make sure I sleep enough, I exercise enough, and I meditate, because I think sleep, exercise, and meditating is life. Everything else is just on top of it. Those are the things we
Okay.
have to do. You know. I think it's
Hmm.
basic human hygiene. We have to should all be doing these three things: sleeping enough, exercising to our best of our abilities, and meditating best to our abilities. These three things we just must do. So I do those, and then I split it up. But having said that, it's not always easy. I have to really push myself and think about it, and find resources to keep it going, because these are all very ambitious things. But also, my daughter's now all grown up. I have no time. And if you've been a single mother and you've sort of run two companies and been a single mother and, then you suddenly feel like you have a lot of time and you can give back more. So, yeah, it's not easy, but I think that it's just I'm privileged to be able to have control over my time. And that's why uh, no other person should look at me and say, oh, yeah, this is what we should do. They shouldn't do that. Every person should go by what suits them. We all have our own rhythms, needs, everything, and we should follow those. I'm having fun.
You,
I
you,
love it, but
hmm.
I don't.
Hmm.
I'm not saying everybody should do it. I think women work very hard as it is. In fact, women should make place for leisure in their lives. They need to make place for leisure in their lives. Not just women, everybody.
You said 24 hours. We have 24 hours. So if I ask
Yeah.
you to
What I
tell
do,
me one day in your life
I wake
in
up.
those
I
24
wake up
hours.
quite. Yeah. I'm telling you. So I wake up by about 7:30, and I usually like drink
Hmm.
my tea, read the newspapers, answer my messages. This takes about an hour. Then I
Hmm.
meditate, and then I exercise. So from 7 till about 9:30, I'm doing all this. At 9:30, I'm ready to start work. From 9:30 to about 12, it's slightly quiet. So I do
Hmm.
emails, things that I have to think about, and all that. From then, the middle of the day till about the end of the day, I'm open for meetings, edits, anything else that needs to be done. Whether I have to go for a
Hmm.
edit, or whether I have to do meetings, or whether I have to do a script, whatever I have to do, tech meetings for the app.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'm directly working with people. After 5:36, I do the meetings where we need to sit down and really talk and spend time. And that takes about 2 or 3 hours. I read or watch TV for an hour, and at 10:30, I'm out like a light. I'm out like
Yeah.
just out, you know.
Okay.
And having said that, I in the middle of
Hmm.
the week I make one day where I get half a day off, because I don't think working
Hmm.
whatever 14 hours a day for so many days is possible. So on Wednesday or Thursday I might take half a day off and do nothing, go and just hang with a friend, and go and eat something in a restaurant, chat with my daughter, and just hang out. And Sunday I do nothing. I purposely vegetate. I purposely do nothing. Meaning I can eat lunch with a friend or brunch or whatever, but I will not
Mm.
work. I will do nothing on that day. And to the thing that
You
you
said that
asked
you
about,
made, yeah,
sorry?
yeah. You said that you made a lot of documentaries for the West, and people there are more open to the kind of subjects that you talk about, the gender issues and all. So,
Yeah.
in the West, like, which country did you find more towards it, more for it?
I don't think it's a gender thing that they
Mm-hmm.
get. I think they
Mm-hmm.
understand when you're trying to push a boundary, like whether it's writing, whether it's tech, they understand that you're trying to innovate. You have a vision. That's the
Mm-hmm.
word actually. They see that if you have a vision, they are very happy to get behind it, because
Okay.
the world over there is no sense that if something new comes it'll be bad. If something new comes, they know something wonderful can happen and come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had, I mean, I it's been really all over the world. I've had some really great partnerships in Austria, some great partnerships in Germany, great partnerships in the UK, the US, of course, a lot. So I've had, done work even with somebody in Australia. So I've worked with everybody all over the world, but in India, it's not that I haven't worked in India. By the way, Kajarya was produced by an Indian producer, by an Indian, but he was in Delhi. You
Mm-hmm.
see, um, what I mean is that outside a system which has already decided how it wants to do things, and fine, that's their way, and they can continue, and they already have their given chosen paths and whatever their craft choices, cinema choices, whatever it is. It's too solid to break. It's too hard to try and break that, because everybody uh, has agreed that this is the way to go, and that's fine. That's the way they do it, and that's all right. But I have my own way, and I'm just have been and have now found a sort of tribe outside of India, outside of Bombay, outside of the mainstream industry. And it's not that I don't want to engage with that industry or I'm looking down upon it, but this seems the only way I'll get my films made. But I don't think that is possible in in the current scenario.
And what are the projects that you are currently busy with?
So I am, of course, Free for Safety. We are just, growing every week, which is very exciting. So we are
Mm.
starting some monetization on that next month onwards,
Okay.
which is a big step for us.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
working on a film called Yellow Line, which I hope to
Okay.
shoot this year. Things, yeah, I'll probably shoot it this year. I am writing another book, which is sort of a memoir, but
Mm.
I'm not. It's not a direct. It's not a. I mean, it's not really like autobiographical. It's more a memoir. So I'm working on that. Yeah, and there are a number of things, but this is what I'm really concentrating on right now.
Okay. Okay. So as we end this session, I want to ask you, what is one advice that you would like to give out to women in general and to women filmmakers in particular?
Um, Always, but always be really proud of who you are. Do not let a male system tell you who you are. Really be happy. Uh, Nobody has to be more beautiful, more talented, less talented, nothing like that. Those comparisons and that jealousy has been implanted in us, we should let it go. It is not part of us intrinsically. Women are naturally quite accommodating and sharing. So I would say to all the women out there, just believe in yourself, because you may or may not know it, but you have everything you need, absolutely everything, from your intellect to your looks to your everything you have. So be a little bit more confident. Don't listen to a system which is telling you this or that. To women filmmakers, I would say that this is really our time. We should really come out and take it. We should really, like warriors, come and take what is ours. Do not again listen to a system that's telling you you should tell this story or that story. Your story is extremely important. The story of women and other genders is going to add a lot to filmmaking and its craft in the long run. It will help society grow if we have more genuine points of view. So and if you are a filmmaker and you have already kind of got the camera in your hand, you're really three-fourths of the way there. Now you just have to do the other part, which is just make the stuff. And also, as women filmmakers, we're right behind you. We're here, and if we will back you all the way.
So thank you so much, Madhurita, for talking to us. It was quite interesting talking to you and listening to your thoughts, and very impressive. And I wish
Thank
you
you.
all the best for Yellow Line and all your future projects. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajkumari. That's lovely. Thank you. Bye.